Okay. Okay, the meeting is called to order. It's 4:01. And the first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Take a moment to finish those.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion at all? On the minutes? Okay, so we're gonna hold a vote on all those approve of the minutes for our, that would be September. Please raise your hand. All right, those are opposed. Brandon raised his hand.
My hand was raised. I'm approved.
Great,
Thank you. Lynn, can you do verbal votes on everything?
We decided with Kathy Payne to go ahead and raise her
Okay.
hands, yeah,
Okay.
so she could see better.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so the minutes are approved as read. Next item is visitor comments. You have 3 minutes per speaker.
I can go first if that's all right. I'm here for that
Yes.
section.
Sure.
My name is Lauren Tacky. I'm a patron of the dog park at McCormick Park, and I had spoken a bit with someone about just our interest in, whether there was a fund to donate to or a build day or whatever. We basically, I don't know if people have been down there, but there's like a little parking area and then there's like some rocks in front of it and then the dog park starts. And so we've had basically on a daily basis, we have dogs, coming very close to getting run over. And there's actually been one dog death, I think about 2 years ago from that. So we would just love, like, even if it was just for the little part where the cars are, it wouldn't have to be for the whole thing, just like some kind of barrier that would just even to slow down the dogs from coming into direct contact. And there's also a lot of people that drive in and out of there that aren't necessarily aware, I think, that it's a dog park. And so that was kind of something we've been talking about as regulars at the dog park for a while. And it sounds like it was on the budget at one point. And she just mentioned that it would be good if I came and just kind of express our interest in that.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Any other speaker from the floor? We're going to the next item. The Lions Club update. Greg, Kathy?
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Greg and we have Kathy with us here. Appreciate just a few minutes to talk about some of the things that the Lions Club do involved with the parks locally. And actually have a presentation on PowerPoint. So can somebody hand over whatever needs to be done so that I can show that on the screen?
Or trunk or treat?
No, it's for so if you go into Zoom or and let him have share screen.
We're working on it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's
No. Oops. Wrong. Gotcha.
Your co-host, you have to put the presentation up on your screen and share it.
Let's see. So do you see anything now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can see it.
There's a button on the bottom of Zoom that says share screen.
Aha. What was that? Share screen. Okay, so it's my problem. Huh? Oh, there's Kathy. Okay. All right, this is looking better.
There we go.
All right. Reading view, here we go. Okay, so
Fancy.
yeah. White screen with writing. Yeah. So this will be brief. It's 2 segments. I'll talk a little bit about McCormick Park and some of the work that's happened over the last year. And then we'll hand it off to Kathy and she will talk about a different program. So here there's 2 photos. I know you guys can't all see the pictures real well, but the photo on the right is the good picture and the photo on the left is the bad picture. So we do work in McCormick Park with the exercise stations. And there was a sign that indicated this is how you use the exercise stations and this is how you take your pulse and this and that. And it had deteriorated. So the Lions were able to work with local vendors and deliver supplies, and the town was able to rebuild this thing and move it to a better area. So looks good now. Activities that we normally do. So what we do as far as the McCormick Park, just the exercise stations, we have 12 to 18 members, and each member of that group kind of owns one exercise station. So that person's responsible for visiting a few times during the year and cleaning up trash or cleaning up their station in general. And then we do 2 or 3 large groups, or a whole group of people get there, and we bring out our leaf blowers and trimmers and rakes and hose and all that stuff. We do not use poisons or salt or anything like that. It's all, especially in the spring, hands and knees kind of work. But we get some positive results. So here we have Lions, Len, and Linda working on some, I guess, leaf work. You know, it's St. Helens Lions Club, but a lot of the members are from the general area. I live in the village itself, but Len over here lives up in Rainier, and then Linda is in Warren, so that they're willing to come into town and support stations is appreciated by us. And Sue and Bert getting ready to do some sit-ups there. Their stations are always immaculate when they're done. Some construction that we do ongoing. Gets wet here, weather. Mending plates. So what we get is the whole thing's pretty much made of railroad ties, and they warp and twist and pop, and the gravel kind of gets outside of the main area. So we found a way to secure those things together. And then some more serious construction projects had to happen. I think what happened here is a few years ago, this station was trashed, and the town came in and was able to put these 4x4 posts up in place. But somebody had to come along and actually turn it back into an exercise station. There was a gym making quite the mess. And then I guess this is me on the right, trying to figure out how to use a tape measure, which I wish was metric, but it's not. So just some talking to the people in the group, there is some trash. We don't mind cleaning up the weeds. That's something we signed up for. But it just seems over the last year, possibly 2, I don't know where it's coming from, new group of people or too much wind, but we're getting more trash in the area. And hoping potentially there's a bench where people like to sit, kind of faces the old rec center. Somebody's sitting there and leaving their cigarette butts. And so maybe it's possible to put a bucket with some gravel or one of those smokeless chimneys or something in that area. So the photo on the right was just taken on Wednesday. We did not clean that up. That's not our stop sign. But the one on the left got cleaned up. So somebody likes to have their name or their little tag displayed where it's not really desired. We find Dawn dish soap as our secret project for that. And then here's just a couple pictures of some of the people in the area. You can see the gravel's all real nice and pretty on the left side. We made sure to take a picture of a station that had been cleaned up. And that is it for McCormick Park. I would like to move on over to the Trex Project, which Kathy will cover.
Okay, I have to have a disclaimer here. Greg put this together for us, and he has quite a sense of humor. So we have Johnny Bench representing our bench program. Okay, so here's a little bit of information about the program. We started this 4 years ago this month. And in that time, we've collected 16 tons of plastic, which is the clear film, things like the plastic bags that come from the grocery stores. And turn that in. When we get 500 pounds of plastic, we get a bench provided from Trex at no charge to us. So in 4 years, we have earned 64 benches. So that's a lot of plastic that's come through my garage.
Yeah.
So here's a picture of the bench that Greg mentioned at McCormick that's close to 18th and Old Portland Road. So it's nicely installed. The city, sorry, Greg, the city pours the concrete for us and installs those with L brackets on the legs so that they can't just walk off accidentally. Okay. And this is one of the benches down at Dalton Lake, overlooking the river. There are 3 of those down there. I think we probably have another picture coming up. And there's another one of them. So they're in really nice places for a good view watching the river. Okay. Benches that we earn get donated to charities. Most of them local, some of them are not. We have donated one to Gales Creek, or actually 2 to Gales Creek camp for children with diabetes. But most of them stay local. We have 12 that have been placed in city parks so far. There's another one being ordered this month that will go at Dalton also. So we appreciate the city taking care of the concrete and installing these once we receive them. Generally, we put them together. Sometimes the city workers put them together. It just depends, but it's a nice partnership. Okay. This is one of the benches at Nob Hill Park overlooking the river. So there are now 2 at Nob Hill that overlook the river.
Okay, sorry.
And a third one, this is the third one that's down near the kiosk where you enter close to the sewer plant. Okay. And in ending, here's a picture of this year's Lions Club officers with our president there in front. One last bit of information, I guess. I personally spend probably about 20 hours a month picking up plastic, sorting plastic, weighing plastic, hauling plastic, and administering the program, keeping track of all of that, because I work with a lot of groups to earn benches. Also, my husband and I spend at least an hour every week walking through McCormick and picking up trash as we find it and just kind of checking on things. So I don't know if you have any questions for either of us.
I mean, what is, I got 3 or 4 more bags coming your way in the next week.
Great.
And we appreciate our benches in Nob Hill.
Any other
I've
questions?
met some interesting people working, and very nice people working on this project, and some of them on the council there, including Howard. So I appreciate all of the help that I get from the group.
So I didn't have any questions, but I had a comment. Just, I really appreciate all the work you all do in our parks. You make it a better place to be. You definitely help our staff out. make that McCormick Park beautiful. I know, and then the other ones with the benches. I know we're very unique to having our exercise stations, which a lot of parks do not have. And I invited Kathy and Greg here today just to show us the other kind of works that are going on behind the scenes, because I know that sometimes we don't know about the other user groups that are really making huge impacts on the parks. And since I became in this role over a year ago, they've been very engaged with letting me know different things that they see and how we can help partner and that sort of thing. So I really appreciate that partnership. And I think I speak for the maintenance staff as well, just a really great partnership with you guys. So thank you for that.
Thank you, and we appreciate you being responsive to our comments, and sometimes I feel like I'm bugging you a lot, but you're always very nice about it.
Well, thank you. It's great to have eyes on everywhere, because obviously we can't be everywhere. So we really appreciate everyone's input. So thank you for that.
Any questions? Yeah. Thank you so much, Kathy and Greg. We appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
Take care. Okay, the next order of business is trunk or treat. Melissa. All right.
You can hear me here, right?
Yeah, that'd be good. Make this.
I have to.
Right here.
So, I, for the past, I want to say 4 years, have done trunk or treat for the library. And so now that I am over at Parks and Rec, I am spearheading trunk or treat for Parks and Rec as well, and library and city. Oh, that works, yeah. So the trunk or treat has thankfully given us a very large space. So for 2000 trunk or treat, we are doing, we have the van, and we get 2 spaces as well. So what I'm asking is if anyone basically from Parks and Rec Commission would like to help with that. So regardless of help or not, what we are going to have is we're going to have interactive games for the kids. We're going to have speakers, because I've noticed in the past that the station that gets the most trophies and interaction is one that has music and lights and more going on. We're going to be handing out informative pamphlets for the parents of what's going on with the city, the library, and Parks and Recreation. And of course, we've got candy for the kids and different prizes. We're going to be handing out school supplies, water bottles, bookmarks, and all kinds of things. And then, like I said, we're going to have the van. We're going to have 2 pop-up tents, tables, and chairs. And then if you would like to help, there's a couple different ways you can help. In the past, even with library board, if they don't want to dress up in costume and be there to do things, we have had volunteers who have come and helped set up and then taken off and then come help break down. That's okay too. We are also going to be having a decoration building party the week before trunk or treat at the community center, because depending on the theme we pick, we are going to need to build some things, because we have a 20-foot by 10-foot space. So we're going to need to fill with decorations of whatever theme we need. So if anybody wants to help with that, that would be great. If you'd like to help me pick a theme today, that would be great. But again, if you have time or any items that might suit the theme, that would be great. And of course, if you'd like to dress up day up and come down, that's always good as well. So some themes that we have come up with are theme number 1, which would be under the sea. The spirit of this theme would be, since we are having the city, Parks and Rec, and the library, would be, we're all fish in the same ocean. You're not a drop in the ocean, you are the ocean in one drop. This would be popular because Disney is remaking The Little Mermaid, so there's going to be a lot of mermaids, running around, so that could be very popular. These are some examples that I took off of the internet to kind of give you an idea of how that would sort of look. We can make coral out of pool noodles, lots of streamers, lots of balloons, that kind of thing.
Melissa?
And yes.
I don't, on our screen online, it's just showing a blue desktop screen, just to let you guys know.
Oh, phooey. Okay. Well, the gist would be, you know, coral, blue balloons, blue streamers, green streamers, kind of give you that, that general under the sea effect. And then an idea for costumes would be, you know, you can do actual Disney, you know, under the sea characters, or just your general, you know, fish, if you wanted to. Another idea that we came up with is Candyland. Now, the fun thing with that, now this again would give us the spirit of our sweet city. The really fun thing, and of course with that we can, I mean, sky's the limit. I'm sure you all remember Candyland, the option, which shockingly enough had a lot of different variations I found out over the Candyland Wikipedia. The fun thing about that is, as you know, from the board game, there are lots of different lands. So we could do, you know, Chocolate City Hall, Lollipop Library, Peppermint Parks and Rec. Each station could have its own varying themes within the overall theme on that. And, you know, if you don't like being a specific Candyland, you know, character, you can just be candy. You can be a Hershey's bar or a big wad of gum or whatever you want to be for that. So these are the ideas that we came up with. Of course, if you hate all these ideas, we can just do your general spooky spiders and all cobwebs and stuff on that. But so again, if you'd like to help me pick, I'm also presenting this to the library board tonight because I've always done library boards trunk or treat. So they're going to pick one as well. But if you'd like to help me pick a theme tonight, I would love to take your vote into consideration. If you'd like to help me by dressing up like a giant Hershey bar or a squid, please do. And if you'd like to help me come and build decorations, that would be phenomenal too. Or if you have anything that could help with this, that'd be great. But that's my spiel.
You set the date and time.
Oh, I'm sorry. The date, that's not helpful at all. So it's put on by the Sheriff's Department, and it is it's on Halloween Day from 3 to 8, and it is held at the fairgrounds this year. So again, you can help me set up, help me take down, you can help me make decorations for it, you can just help me today by picking a theme, or you know, we are Halloween town, so.
At the same time with the decoration
The
bill.
decoration party, I'm probably gonna do sometime next week. I haven't decided on an exact date or time for that. I'm open to options on that. If day, evening, weekend works better for that. I'm also gonna talk with library board, see kind of what works for them, and I'll probably email everyone in a chain for that after today, after we decide on a theme, so we know are we making coral or are we making lollipops?
We most likely will have things set up where people can come in at different times and just work on it.
Yeah, and if you can't make the big thing, please, if you can stop by any old time and you know, help wrap lollipops or help balloons, or if you say, hey, I've got a bunch of stuff in my garage that works, please bring it on down to the community center. I'll be collecting it. And if you can come down just day of in a you know, pink cotton candy outfit and help us hand out candy, that's great too.
I can volunteer
On the 31st, beautiful. Thank you so much, Lynn. Anyone, any particular theme screaming to anyone? That even if you're not gonna be the day of, that you think would really fit or you like?
They're both really adorable. Yeah. The Candyland is super cute. And I would love whatever you guys wish on an email with elements that you'd like to include, because I can have so on my studio and then just come drop them.
Beautiful. Oh, I would love that help. Thank you so much. Okay, well, I will keep you all informed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is expiring commissions. Janet, are you gonna read that or?
I can, I'm not sure who's expiring.
It's Paul Barlow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so my position, Paul Barlow and Brandon Sundins. So I can speak for myself. I'd like to continue the commission
Oh, okay.
position. And Paul,
Yes,
you want to commit?
yeah, I can,
Continue your commission. Thank you.
yeah, I can continue.
Thank you.
What else do I have? What else do I have to do?
Depending on what happens in November, I would like to continue on the commission as well.
Great, thank you. Okay.
I'm assuming I'll pass that on to Kathy.
Yes, so we have to.
You have to wait until after it closes because they're advertising, and then in December you can interview that person and then you can make recommendations for appointments. Or reappointments at that time.
Also, I think we can ask to extend it, right? Because I've had a few people come to me and say they were interested, but they weren't sure yet. So I let them know that the first deadline was the 12th. So it'd be nice if we could continue it at least till January. So I'll talk to Kathy about that too. And I think we have to vote
I
on.
think
it.
you can pick new people until it's closed, though, is the problem. So you wouldn't be able to pick anybody new until after the first of the year.
Well, no, you've got one, correct? And then if
Right.
we extend it, then others can put their application in. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
but you just can't interview people or anything until after it closes.
exactly. Yeah.
We'll be able to fill that one position until January.
We've gone a long time without one position before. So do we need to take a vote on that? No, okay. So I'll,
So we will not be working to fill Carmen's open spot now until after.
no,
Are we
we,
filling hers before then?
no, what we'll do is we have one application so far, and then I'll tell Kathy that we'd like to extend it until at least January. So that maybe a couple of these other people can apply, because they're still debating.
Thank you.
So it'd be nice to have a couple of these, but. Okay. So, Parks and Recreation budget line items presentation. And John Washington.
Yeah.
There you are. You're right.
Well, I've been out at a Oregon State's conference most of all last week. It was pretty consuming. So we were well represented. We played our waterfront video and presented our projects, and lots of attention and praise and accolades for doing good work.
Welcome. We're really looking forward to hearing this.
All I plan to do is just open the budget and go through the 2 pages, some line items if you like.
Sounds great.
Do the best I can. I've been on double duty here last few months, so.
It's not sure how it is. It was mine if you. Do that. Just under the city of St. Helens website, and then under, I think just under budget. Here. Had it sitting at my bedside, viewing it.
I never got the handout last time either. So.
Oh, no.
So where do we go online to get that?
Just under the city of St. Helens website, and it says budget.
Finance.
Under finance and then budget, yeah. So under your government. And then finance. Yeah. Your budgets over there on the right hand. Here, yeah, the-
Yeah.
Did you want to look up mine too?
Grab another.
Yeah, it's in your office.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Okay.
So nice to invite some at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Do we have a dull moment here? Do we have a meeting in November or is that the one month we take off? Okay.
Next one is December.
Okay, so it'll be December, fine. Okay, I brought it up there since we have a lull in activity for a moment.
I think it's because Veterans Day usually falls on Monday and it's usually a holiday, so.
Also, oh, got it. Yeah, that would be great. The community center. Yeah, over by the. Thank you.
We do more than one. Take notes, okay, good. Right, I am not your finance director, but I am today. So, you're the finance director. I'll try to go through this. Just high level, both budget and the recreation budget, along with many other programs and services the city offers are in the general fund, which is the revenues that are taxes and fees and revenues that are outside of the restricted funds, which restricted funds are the enterprise funds, the water, sewer, streets, storm. Those, you can see a lot of big numbers in those other funds, but then with the operational funds, that the general funds are house all of the services. There's a good summary in here. So, all that to say that revenues come in the general fund and then they're allocated out over all the general fund departments. And the Parks Department and a Recreation Department, and Shauna is the manager of both of those departments. Parks Department generally draws pretty heavily on. There's not a lot of revenue that comes out of parks, some fees and rentals and things like that, but the rec side of the house does a really with its grants and fees for services, cost recovery is actually pretty high. So the budgets are organized into personnel services and material services. Those are expense budgets. You're not seeing any revenue there. That's just 100% expenses, what we're spending. Is there a specific thing you want to know? I mean, personnel services are your wages. We don't really have much overtime. Insurance goes along these benefits, basically, or what those are for each one. Yeah, total adopted number, and it is budgeted. It's so it should be pretty close. Is 359,000 on parks and 300 on recreation for personnel. So 659 between them for personnel, even though their accounting is separate. So.
A huge part of our budget goes to personnel, isn't it? So the parks, yeah.
A huge part of the city's budget goes to personnel. Across the board.
Then I've heard what the doggy bags cost over $10,000 a year for all the parks for putting doggy bags out. Do they occasionally raise, I hope, dog license fees to help cover?
We don't get.
We don't get money.
In St. Helens, we don't have.
We don't get money for that.
Sure.
The county manages the dog
My city gets in that thing.
Those aren't eventually turned into park benches, are they?
Years ago, we did manage the program, but it was a lot of confusion and a level of effort versus revenues received. It just
The staffing it takes to manage the dog licensing program is pretty substantial.
It's confusing to the community
Yeah.
about whether you're in the city or out of the city.
Is there anything you can do where the money that's spent in the parks stays in the parks instead of goes to the general fund?
You do not want to do that, so. I mean, yes, there are some like endowment type things, people can dedicate budgets to certain things.
Well, I mean, like,
But for general operational kinds of things.
that way we'd have money if we need new play equipment, we can say, hey, we got the money in our account to do this, we don't have to go to general fund and ask, hey, do we have the money to do this? Or the money in the general fund's gone because it went here, or?
I guess that kind of comes after one of the questions we had when we were out on Sand Island, where do
So like, okay, what am I?
that go into the general fund, the camping fees from Sand Island?
Camping fees go to the operator of the campground and the city receives 10%. Hotel tax, we get a 10% piece of that.
And that goes in the general fund and
Goes into the general fund.
Is the hotel tax, does that go into tourism?
It goes into tourism, then goes into the general fund.
And Jacob, kind of for your point, the revenues that we bring in for parks. So for instance, we only bring in, I'd say under $10,000 in revenues for parks. The general fund gives us $475,000.
I mean,
So there's not really, like, they're giving.
I wasn't saying to break it away from the general fund.
Oh,
We
but
get the
that
general fund still,
$10,000
but also we could have, hey, look, we rented all these gazebos this month and the money goes to this fund to help maintain the gazebo instead of going to the general fund. Or, hey, we rented all these campsites at Sand Island, they're making all this money and we're seeing none. Well, now, in the town, we have, our parks are run down, the equipment's old. We have no fields for some kids to play ball. You know, this is all stuff that we can be putting money aside for. Sort of like what softball did for the lights at McCormick. You know, the softball league got together and they put lights in at McCormick Park. That was the softball players that did that. But if that money went to like the general fund, we would never have got lights.
I can appreciate the point
Yes.
that, you know, those revenues come in, but the revenues are already considered as part of the operations of the fund. So they,
When we were at Sand Island, he said they got, how many campsites was there?
84.
84, and how much is it a night? 30. And it's booked almost all the time? That's a lot of money.
we don't get that revenue. We don't, we.
Right, no, and I was just wondering, I was wondering,
Maintenance expense either.
but I was just wondering if there's any way we could at least get part of it or something, because like I said, we have parks that have nothing in it. We have parks that, you know, the equipment's all run down. We have parks where we don't even have a park for 13-year-old kids to play baseball. We have no park in the city of St. Helens that they can play. So, and then when they redo the high school fields, they're out of luck again. Our kids this year played out of town all summer long.
So I think with things like that, yes, I think, so the general fund question, so we get for parks, $472,000. So that $10,000 that we get on reservations and whatnot is part of that $472,000 that helps keep the parks going, right? I think as we have special projects and stuff, that's why it's important to identify those, get quotes for those, do grant sourcing from them, and also figuring out what more we need to ask for, and if it's available in the general fund to even allocate or not. Because there isn't a ton of revenue that comes from parks. Parks is like the library, where it's a community thing where they don't get, where on the rec side, we charge user fees for our programs and that
We
sort of
charge
thing.
for events, we charge for campgrounds, we charge, you know, for, you know, the park for weddings, you know. That's all right. right.
I think the contractor who's still St. Helens Marina is the one who charges. And everything that they charge, except for the 10%, is what they get. So
They keep it and we get 10%.
well, we get 10% from the
Yeah, it's at least, we
Hotel
leased the camping rights to the island, so they're operating a business on the island. And
Yes.
maintaining it and taking care of the restrooms and all the expenses that we used to have are
Isn't
that good?
Really appreciate it a lot.
Like I said, John, this was just a question. I didn't.
No, it's a good point, and every department that has revenue, like the police want the ticket revenue, the court wants the court revenue,
But it just seems like we're in need of a lot of stuff, but we can never afford it because we're just a small piece of the pie. We don't have our own pie to
That's-
eat from.
Yeah. No, I can definitely appreciate the point, and
Do you have any ideas what could generate income for the parks? How we could?
Shauna's just done a fantastic job, obtaining grants.
Yeah, she's done amazing getting us grants.
And, you know, the motive grant, which that leveraging those resources against other resources and it's, you know, cobbling all those together with community support is, that's, you know, that's fantastic. Having a good parks master plan, having a capital improvement plan. I know when years ago when Jenny Dimsha first worked on that, we kept her on specifically to work on it.
Yeah, she did a great job too.
The capital improvement plan, which lays out your priorities, what's cost to those kinds of things. So we have
Sometimes they need help.
to go after grants to really get,
Yeah,
turn it into real.
you have to have a plan for it to get a grant.
And I think that's what we're running into right now because if you may, I'm sorry for interrupting, but with the parks master plan, there's some things that are outdated or things that don't seem feasible right now, but then there's things that are hot items right now that need to be done. Is figuring out what those hot item things are, the cost to them and how we can do in kind to match those things, because that's a lot with a grant. It's grants for parks are not out there for staffing and stuff, but they are out there for capital improvement projects, but they want to know that we're matching a certain percent. And right now with a lot of the other projects that are going on, we can't say we're gonna get this grant done in a year or something. So really positioning ourselves where we're able to complete the grants. You know, I know there's a lot of delays with like COVID stuff with the sports core, but that was, you know, a drawn out thing. So just making sure like when we go for a grant for the Campbell Park playground, that we have a good plan of what we want to see there, how we're going to be able to get that there and that sort of thing. And so that's something I feel like is an upcoming pressing need. And as Tori and I do the project list to go out to the parks and see what the hot items are. And Dana had a great presentation for Campbell Park and the things that need to be done. Those things will be taken into consideration as grant things appear and stuff. Did you have a question, Lynn?
Yeah, I do have a question. So I did address this in our annual report to city council, but do we have any outstanding grants that have been submitted for parks? So to help.
There's nothing currently that's submitted for parks. Well, I guess I take that back because Columbia View is right now what we're working on.
Yeah, the two grants in Columbia View, which should be about almost $2 million. Yeah, those are in process. The ODOT community pathways that we did the last cycle, which is a planning grant that would connect St. Helens to Scappoose to Crown Z Trail, kind of hit up the. We came super close to getting that. The next project was funded before ours, but they doubled the money and they've reopened the grant for this cycle. And we have a Jenny Dim show. There's a pre-application process. We've made it through that and we'll be submitting the full application. And that project will require, it's like 90% paid through grant and there's a 10% match. So we'll be having to for resources to come up with the 10%.
So with the master plan not being currently appropriate in total, there's a lot of projects that have been done. There's a lot of projects that maybe will be, and there's some that are kind of still far off in the future. So do we have kind of, or are you guys going to be working on a current active project plan where we can, you know, input our requests, but have the, you know, because we're not really here, I don't think it's a commission to do the legwork for some of these projects, you know, finding the budgets, finding the, you know, what would be required and then finding the grants and whatnot. But do we have an active kind of like priority project list where we can say, okay, I've requested, new ballparks here. This is what needs to be done. These are kind of the timelines for maybe some grants that are coming up in the next 6 to 12 months, just that way I feel like we feel like there's follow-up on some of our requests and that we're not requesting something that realistically we can't even put our feet in for 18 months.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand, like I said, you guys, you do a fantastic job.
Oh, no, and I don't think that you're not. Yeah.
Sometimes you need help.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I agree with that. I think Dana's point, the capital improvement plan, is something that we're right now, as you go to the different parks, you'll see things being upgraded and taken out that are little things that we can do right now that aren't taking a lot of funds to do. But yes, so there will be a list of the things that we as staff, and we'll bring to this commission too, are high items that these trees might fall down. So we need to go and thin out these trees because it's a hazard, and then look at the price point to that, because not only is there a need for playgrounds and stuff, there also is a need for just maintenance upkeep and taking some buildings down that need to come down. So yes, so the answer is yes, we will have a list.
I just know we're losing kids to scaffolding. And I'd like to see those kids stay here in this town. I think what scaffolding that's got all this stuff that we don't.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to sports fields and stuff, is looking from an equity factor of how many sports fields do we have as a whole in St. Helens? Because of course, the city can't house all the sports fields. The school districts have them, Elks Lodge, Moose Lodge, and that sort of thing, and figure out where that stands and
Right,
what gaps we have,
we have
because
every age group covered except for 13-year-olds. And then when they do their high school field, high school.
yeah.
So I just want to follow up with what Dana was saying about the list and the different requests, and I've been thinking about that a lot too. So I started making a list of the requests for the last year, but I realized after talking with Shauna that we're not getting the in-kind time that you're working in each one of your parks except for Nob Hill. And so I think we need to do a better job of that. And your time here counts. And so I would like to suggest that if you could send those to Shauna and CC me, that would help a lot, because I'm looking at some grants purposely.
In-kind tracking sheets.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Can I get some of those? Because then that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Send those out electronically.
And then I've got a couple of questions to. John will probably have to hear these. I was just wondering, is there a line item in here that tells us how much the 10% was from Sand Island? What did the city get from Sand Island Corporation for camping for the year? And then my other would be, if we're talking about funding and stuff.
See, this is all expenses here, so you're not gonna see any revenue.
Okay,
Revenue goes
okay.
into the general.
How would we find out what the revenue was from Sand Island? Or would it be in this book somewhere? It's just hard to find.
It was around 10,000 last year.
Okay. And then my other question would be is that since Halloween Town's a $750,000 profit making thing for last year. And they do use our city parks, is there any way that we can get some money back from Halloween Town to help with Columbia View Park, help with Nob Hill with other things? Because if they're making huge amounts of money, it would only make sense that some of that money should go back to the parks that they're using heavily. Because they're using some of them very heavily. That it shouldn't come from general fund to be repairing.
Yeah, it's not.
If it's to mitigate anything.
Yeah,
damage or anything like that.
how does that work?
Well, tourism used to be pretty much nothing. They saved some money for a convention center and gave out a few community grants. That's about it. 140,000, something like that. Actually, the revenue on the tourism tax is pretty stagnant or declining because of all the hotel vouchers that are being used to those people in the hotels is taking people out of the system, which are exempt. But bringing the events contractor in, fortunately, some years have been a little negative, some years have been positive, but what's constant is that we've been reinvesting it. every year we kind of
Okay.
reinvest to make it a little bigger, a little better.
Uh-huh.
Adding a tram, add a boat, add these kinds of things each year. There's tourism related improvements to be made in parks. That's a legitimate expense.
Mhm, mhm. 'Cause I mean, like I said, Doug said what they made over $750,000 off of it. I would think that there should be some percentage that goes back into the parks to make them nicer for them and also for them.
That much.
Not just like, oh, well, we'll wait and see. There should be a set amount ahead of time.
There's also that much in expenses too.
Well, yeah, it should be under the expenses for the, that budget, if there's any damage done, but to the parks from that, from whatever it's used.
Very reasonable thing.
Yeah, that's a reasonable thing.
Bill, we went out and videotaped all the trails beforehand for this time.
Well, yeah, videos from the year before, because some of the trails never got, I never got rock on them from the year before. So we got 2 years worth of wear and tear coming up in some areas, but I'll discuss something else later.
So I have a question that maybe both of you could answer. Councilor Morton about 4 months ago said that when he went to city council, he says, well, Parks doesn't do another thing. Let's make sure we have the money for the urban trail to get that going. So where would, how do we know what that is to get started?
So my understanding of the next steps with the urban trail is that you need a cost estimate, an engineer's cost estimate, which is a very logical next step. And,
Is that something Shauna would be doing?
no, that's a more of an engineer's cost estimate. That would be-
That's something that I am working with Mohammed on getting. I think one of the, yes, so engineers cost estimate and see how applicable it is to do those things right now when we're doing waterfront improvements too, and how, because we don't want to build a trail to nowhere, you know, while things are getting developed and what that looks like, because there's a big portion right now that we won't be able to do anything with until, but I understand wanting the pieces done, but we need to make sure we have the staffing to be able to do that as well. But engineers cost estimate, and I know Mohammed knows that from the last meeting because we had talked about it in length with you all talking about that. So
It could even be a phased approach where you have.
yeah, that's what we talked about.
Right, because there's a lot that can be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too,
Yeah.
just to get started, you know, even if it wasn't down on the waterfront,
Yeah.
you know, to start getting our.
I know there were some questions about needing sidewalks certain places or not, and that sort of thing as well, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great project. We'd be happy to work on it. It's really a capacity issue right now. First Street is, you know, it's out to bid. It'll be under construction here. We'll be doing ribbon cutting on November 2nd. And, you know, managing that project well is our highest priority. Because it's setting the
So.
But your question about if there's money set aside for that, there is not money in this budget for
So
that.
that didn't happen.
That did not happen in this budget cycle, no.
doesn't mean it couldn't happen. It
Right.
just happened in-house through engineering.
Oh, I see, okay.
Do it, yeah.
Yeah, and if we do it in-house, the work and everything, but as far as the money that you see here is just basically what we need to operate. And buy dog poop bags and toilet paper and things like that.
Basic amount of minimum to get by, it seems like all the time, unfortunately.
So John, you're talking about ribbon cutting, that's for phase 1.
Or Riverwalk for phase, not for the Riverwalk, for the streets and utilities.
Okay.
When's that gonna happen? Or real soon here?
November 2nd.
November 2nd.
Contract's been awarded. They have a notice to proceed. We're holding them off until after Halloween's over. You don't want to create any more conflicts than there are right now.
It could be part of future Halloween town.
It will be in 18 months. Bill, so yeah, we'll see another Halloween through this. And a lot of what happens as far as priority and plans, projects is really, it happens on the development side of the house too, is where opportunity comes up. This ODOT announces a grant and it's just on your list. Maybe it's not the biggest thing on the list, but it's on your list. It's a chance to get 90% of it funded. You know, let's go for it. And we go for it. And Maybe turf fields is the biggest thing, but there's no programs out there paying for turf fields is the priority. And it's not that we're looking for that, but it's some of that chases itself around.
Nike helped out a lot.
And Nike did the street, they kicked in on that one.
Yes, want some baseball group Nike or something to help you get a ball field for.
You just have professional athletes make it through the school program like Scappoose did. You know, unfortunately, they put the money back in Scappoose and not here. Even though the kids from St. Helens went to play in Scappoose to get better.
Brandon or Paul, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
I don't. I appreciate the information.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Which was a little more uplifting about parks and revenue. We have a secret cache of cash there.
I think I have one more question before we leave budget behind. And my question is just kind of a hypothetical moving forward, not this year type of a thing. With Halloween Town being what it is, with the volume of traffic that comes through with that, and the current contracts that you guys have in place with the contractor for fees, renting the different parks for whatever reasons. I would really like to visit that agreement on what the fees are for the parks that they are utilizing. And I think it would be really appropriate going into next year to have a healthy discussion with the Parks Commission and what really that revenue looks like from the fees, what really the costs are in order to provide maintenance for the parks, and see if perhaps that needs to be adjusted in years coming to make sure that everyone feels really good about the usage and repair and maintenance of those parks, because that has been a consistent complaint from the public and some of the members of the commission for several years. And as we see more and more people, and hopefully that continues, I think it would be a really appropriate thing to revisit that and make sure that there is money set aside for some of the larger damages that have been occurring, especially at places like Knott Hill Park. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think there's already a commitment to fix everything's fixing.
Yeah, but
Looking to actually,
We got 0 last year. That doesn't really hold a lot of hill beans to me.
kind of go through the process, each.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a fee or deposit or
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to be really quick. So I get my son's.
Okay.
is that something that we can, is that something that we can do? We can-
I got that suggestion.
Oh, she was asking if that was something we could do or look at for next year.
Look at it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Suggestions. maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't wanna. There's, doesn't need to be worked, but, and if you wanna.
Well, some things that I saw a copy of the contract and there were quite a few things or in the special use permit that I had a lot of questions about that I'd like to ask at some point too, so.
I think that would be really healthy to look at the special use permit and just gain a fuller understanding of what the costs are that the contractor is paying, what exactly those fees are going towards. And especially, I haven't read it myself, so I don't know if they have promised specific repairs or anything like that. I just think it'd be really healthy to look at that. And then if there's not clear plans in place, if there's not clear dollar amounts, et cetera, to have that set up before next year. That way we go into it feeling really good as a community. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, it's good. And that's one of the reasons we went out and did a camera.
Yeah.
Cameras don't always show all the damage unless you're really there in the park though all the time to see the wear patterns in the trails, the way the drainages go and that type of thing.
Right.
That'd be a trail person.
To the Sand Island.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Just real quickly, Sand Island and the docks, maybe 1 minute is just the Marine Board just went out about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And did a complete survey of all of our docks. Condition.
Good.
not good. There's quite a few repairs, corrections needed, some of the gangways are broken, some of the plates, the rails are all messed up. Just because age, it's 96, so that a lot of the woods are just wearing out, and there's through bolts that go through, and a lot of the motion on the both docks, actually, they get off a little bit, they start to work themselves and they deteriorate a lot faster. And so there's a condition of the docks, we're working on it, they're getting price estimates and things of that. Figure out how to pay for that. There are some grant funds available. The harbor master agreement is now in place, so St. Helens Marina is now managing the people staying at the docks, which is fantastic. It's not just the docks, it's the city waterways too, so that people can't game the system, and anything that's within city limits, which is out to the middle of the river around Sand Island, goes up the channel. St. Helens Marina will be monitoring that and ticketing those people that are
Including the pylons and all that.
including the pylons. If you're just anchored 5 feet off the docks, you're gonna be, that's not an approved site. You know, we've got the kiosk. Kiosk is doing really well, helping recover the expense of paying for the kiosk for one, and then also, once it's paid for, then it'll help pay for the management of that dock master contract. And all in all, really good. Sorry, stay longer.
Yes.
Thank you very much, John.
At least I'm first.
Yeah. Take that.
Okay, next we have the.
Can we still speak a little bit about that? Or we just,
Sure, sure.
I mean, I like with the docks here and that, I think, we should also, include that in our oversight, like with, the Halloween town and contracts, on contracts like that. Also with the Santa, and there's, I think part of our purview is what, as you said, and read out last time, our responsibilities.
Right.
But then again, we could get into it so much that, into the minutia that we bought them. So it's, how we want to, interpret what our responsibilities are. So, I'm not sure what everybody's, what their feelings are on, how we want to proceed.
When we had baseball and stuff, we used to look at all the conditional use permits and vote on them and all that stuff, and then we hardly ever see anything. Sometimes,
Well, now it's all online.
yeah.
I think that's a good idea, because it is being used heavily for Halloween Town. So that would help maybe bring some funding in.
At minimum, bring clarity.
Yeah, just-
I think you're right on that.
Right, because worst case scenario, like what I'm seeing, and the reason I'm asking is because when people bring a complaint or a concern or a request multiple times and then there's no follow-up on it, they feel not heard, and that can bring long-term frustration, and it doesn't fix any of the problems. And so the first way to start fixing your problems is to gain all of the information that you possibly can. And we know that we're receiving some revenue for these special use permits. And what exactly does that look like and where does it go? Does it require revision moving forward so that we can better serve our parks? It's a very healthy conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just think that having that clear conversation rather than getting off on 20 other tangents or being dismissed because there's no budget, okay, but that doesn't solve our problem and it doesn't make me feel any better. I had a question.
If there's wear and tear, there needs to be a way
Yeah.
to replace it,
And so
not have the city have to
I
do that.
feel that way.
yeah, this is a topic I think could be addressed pretty easily by just looking at the current contract, seeing if it serves us, and if not, making recommendations to alter the contract, which I think is part of the commission.
With all other business, we'll get back into this a little bit again.
So
Thank you so much.
okay.
Okay,
That's tiny human.
okay. Before we start, I want to ask everybody, what time to begin to this part this year? Yes.
Oh,
I'm putting you all on the spot.
you are, you are.
They're all the time.
The dog? No, what do you do?
There?
Well, my mother-in-law owns the house across the street.
So you go in, I mean, since being assigned this part, there have been. I believe. Probably been over by their, at least 20 towns.
Uh-huh.
I've only seen one person in the park. Within that park, not the dog area, off leash area.
So usually there's you go through around 2:30, 3 o'clock, there's usually a group of people down by the bench. Or by the
Well, you know, I've gone by there. All hours, I think, so go out on my bike and go by it. So,
Well, I want to make a comment to that because I notice every time I go by Civic Pride, there's nobody there, but there's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
They go for 6th Street.
I mean, there's no splash pad, there's no.
Civic Pride's the one right next to like Red Apple and stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's no sign even saying that it's a park.
No, That's been.
That's all weird. I got through Civic Pride on my way back.
all right, well. Let's go through the overview. Everybody knows where it's at. Took some photographs yesterday. Moved in. Again, thank you for printing the copies. First notice, planted with grass. It has great trees in there. And very mature, native free. Plus a wastewater drain that cuts through the middle. I guess it's prone to periodic floods. There are, my visits there, I've noticed there's three approaches there. And one trash receptacle, in that part. There's a picnic, I believe a picnic table within the off-leash area too. Plus they have a station for the future bench plastic bags. So then I'm not sure what the how it relates with the community garden. I mean, is that, from what I understand, it's the senior center is doing that, and the food goes to the food bank. So, I mean, I'm not sure, how that is, how that came about, or how it's going, or anything like that. I'm not sure. I mean, I know, sure, the name Walker, I believe, is the guy who is running the senior center. I was thinking about contacting him again,
Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And seeing, what is required of him and what we could do to help him and that type of stuff.
He's very easy to work with too.
Okay. So I just wanted, state that out here before I do it, so everybody knows, what I want.
And that's an area I should start doing more with senior centers since I'm that age now. Should learn more about our senior center.
Drive from Mills and Mills.
You can go there for meals.
I had a vehicle for doing that.
Obviously, even though I've gone there many times, I haven't really seen anybody in the community garden either.
So what you're saying,
Honestly,
Springtime.
yeah, springtime, exactly.
I
So,
wasn't pretty sure.
I was gonna say that you see them there in the spring.
But there's a lot of, you can see it's being, well kept.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of people in there. I'll see like 2, 3 people at a time. But you do see different people.
very good. What I was gonna ask is, so that, that garden area is part of that park property, the city?
Yeah, it is part of the park, of the city property.
Okay, so city property, but it's not
I'm not sure.
I was gonna ask, it is, and the senior center actually is the
Right,
city's
yeah,
as well, yeah.
exactly. But how does that fit in with Tiny Human Park?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, if you look at page 6, the kid, well,
It's just in a corner of the park and it's there.
I mean, it could be, you know, first bullet point, you know, the park is classified as a neighborhood park within the latest master plan, not the newest one that it's gonna be in the future, soon come out. But it's neighborhood park, it seems to be actually more of a pocket park. Using the guidelines of the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department, because there's really only that one seesaw there that's been there for probably 50 years. You know, nothing else besides the 3 picnic tables and so the classification of the neighborhood park, I don't know if it really applies to this because it doesn't have those amenities. Though I want it to still be the neighborhood park because I'd like to see in the future, which is part of the master plan of from what was it, 2015. Thought that with the needs for the park were restrooms with a drinking fountain, playground equipment, which would be good for that place because I like having the trees there in summer, have the kids there under the trees rather than being exposed to the sun all day. It's a nice way to keep them safe from that. But it improve the street parking. There is obviously in front of the off leash area. There's room for people to pull off there and use mostly the off leash area. And would be nice. It also says a covered picnic shelter. There's off to one side towards the 16th Street side. There's from the community garden with a nice tree there, and that could be developed into a nice covered picnic area. And again, I mean, I think I've mentioned this before, and when I was living in New Zealand, you go to the parks and they'd have a coin operated grill there. You just put in what they call gold coins, because they're $1 or $2 coins, and put it in, and then you'd have use the grill. So that'd be nice instead of having everybody, or have one of the old chunky grills that they have. And so people would be more apt to use it. Could have, it's sloped there. You could have an upper and a lower. So you could have the upper part. You could have the seniors have ADA type of accommodation up there for them, for those folks, and also have a lower person for that. Also, they had a possible rain garden over water retention demonstration installation. Sounds good, but I have a difficult time conceptualizing what that would be.
What is a rain garden?
I'm not sure. That's why I'm saying.
Usually an area
This
where
is
you
part
have.
of the master plan.
Okay.
Rain gardens
It's not
usually
my,
some area where you have excess runoff that runs into a area, and usually you'd have more native plants that are water loving and that would help filter out different things that would go through it on its way to get back into the groundwater.
As it's collected. That's kind of.
and lastly, I'd like to note that the park was not on the list of high priority parks projects in the 2015 master plan. So that's my update. That's my update.
Thank you. This is really nice. Well put together.
It's higher.
No, I think
Lots.
that's.
Paperwork.
Where's that mark? Okay, no old business. action item. Now I put that on there especially because we were talking about that earlier, so that we don't get those lost in our minutes and forgotten and all that. So we've already talked a little bit why John was here about the urban trail budget. And so we can maybe discuss that a little bit more, find out more information, or
Do you have
see where we can.
possible ETA on when we might have the,
I do not, but I will, because I have something written up, so I would say probably December meeting, maybe add it to that one, just to check in and see.
Okay, Paul, any update on the crosswalk work?
Well, I was gonna say, I know that it was brought up at the last meeting regards to placing an additional crosswalk. I guess it would be closer to Highway 30. I think that might be helpful. I don't know exactly what further steps have to be done to do that. But as I was observing it again a little bit more, I think that really probably is the problem, because the way that road turns when you come off the highway, it goes right there at Don's Rental, it hooks left. And so I can see where, when cars are coming around, entering onto Columbia Boulevard, that they're not catching people on the other side of where Columbia kind of takes a little turn or jog there. So maybe installing that additional crosswalk closer to the highway there, just on the other side. I think could be helpful.
Have we ever noticed, is there a crosswalk sign ahead on the street that warn people about that? I haven't even paid attention to that. Is there signage that says that there's a crosswalk there?
No, there isn't. I don't know, because cars come on there in that crosswalk. That crossing is so close to it, as soon as them entering that.
Were you able to discuss with Public Works the orange color on the crosswalk?
I didn't
Maybe
hear
just
that.
painting that. Okay.
Well, I have an update from Mohammed about that. So
Okay.
connected with the operation and engineering team, they recently learned that this specific intersection does not support ADA access on the ramp curbs, where we initially thought a crosswalk would work. Therefore, that option is not feasible, unfortunately. Our team is working on a different solution, which will enhance safety. And then he's added the people who are doing that. He does not have a timeline yet. However, you/commission members can forward questions directly to Dave or Sharon for any future follow-up.
Right. That sounds good. Did you hear that, Paul?
Yeah, so he's saying that adding that additional crosswalk is not feasible.
Not for the ADA access that has to be there in the ramp curves, because there does have to be certain ways that people can enter onto the sidewalk. And I don't think that there's any ramp curves down.
Sounds like
It has to be.
sounds like the crosswalk needs to be better marked somehow with better.
Yeah, so
signage.
they're working on what that looks like, and Dave and Sharon are who are working on that, so they'd be the best direct contacts to. Or
Okay.
you can always
Well, it
reach
sounds
out
like
to me. You can reach out to me as well, and I can forward and connect you all to.
Yeah, it sounds good.
But you got people thinking about it, Paul. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay, staff report.
Awesome. All right, so. So just to kind of backtrack a little bit, talking about the special use permit. So when I became the Parks and Recreation Manager, that was one of the things that I had assigned to me as a special use permit, since the forms are older and we are doing some updating. So Melissa, myself, and Tori are going to do the first look at them, and we're looking at other folks and how they do their special use permits. They are a little cumbersome for the people who are applying for them and also us, but we want to make sure we're gathering enough information, that we're charging enough, that all the things are being done correctly. And so I would expect a, if not by December meeting, January's meeting, for us to come with a PDF of what that looks like and any kind of additions you all think should be on there. As far as contractor use, with tourism and then city use, we don't pay anything for the special use permits. Those fees are waived. And then also with nonprofits, there's certain fees that can be waived and there's certain ones that are hard costs as well. So we'll take a look at that and see what things need to be updated, because we've just been using the ones that have been used in the past, but we'll look at ones for the future. So
Sorry, you said about contractors now, there's no.
so city contractors, so anybody who's working directly with the city, they don't pay. So like when the Blazers came out, because it was a partnership thing, we didn't charge them to use the park since they were doing a event that encompassed Parks and Rec and that as well.
And so they don't get fees, or they don't even have to follow what it really says upon rules.
So there's what the
area.
it says.
They just get a free blanket slate if it's a city person versus a.
Right. So I understand there's some work that needs to be done with that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that they don't, fees are waived for city contractors and people that are partnering directly with the city doing events and such. As far as the rules and stuff, there will be some talk about what those look like. The expectation are that people follow the rules that are on there, so.
But currently, so say for the purpose of these events and whatnot, there's no actual fees being rendered for the use.
Not for the use, no, yeah. And that's the same thing when recreation uses like movies in the park and that sort of thing. We don't pay anything to use the park for those things, but we have expectations, like we clean up our garbage and we do XYZ. So that's a little bit about the special use permits. I understand there's some work that needs to be done, and I'm very committed to doing that work, and Melissa onboarding, and we saw some huge gaps and some things that we needed to correct. And so that is something, as far as reviewing the permits, if you guys were to review the permits, I would suggest that it would be all or none, because you can't just pick and choose which ones. And we took in about 45 over the summer, so they're pretty extensive, and you know, that's fine if that's something this commission wants to do, but just an idea for what that could look like. It's a lot of family reunions and birthday parties and things like that too. So anything over 50 people is what you'd be reviewing permits for.
So I just gotta say that I saw the special use permit for Halloween Town and it wasn't difficult to go through, so just.
It wasn't, I'm sorry, what?
Wasn't difficult to go through.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that was bigger probably than what.
Yeah, but
It wasn't even filled out all the way.
fine, but that's the only thing. I'm totally fine with bringing them to here, but there'll be a lot of them to go through. So however you guys want to spend your time, I'm totally fine with that.
Would there ever be a possibility of having a special use permit that would be like if you're expecting over 2,000 people for a special event, that would put it into another classification?
Yeah, we are definitely looking at different classifications for permits.
50 is one thing, but
Parades, like that sort of things. They are get used now.
people, that's, you know, to a park, that's a lot different than just 50 people going to a park.
Sure, yeah, there's definitely some improvement for special use permits, and we're committed to working through all those to.
And I think that's more of what I was looking at, rather than looking at the signed ones for each person who's already applied for
Yeah.
that. But it is, you know, it's a bit eye-opening to know that, you know, a special use permit, especially for an event, you know, that has so much foot traffic through the parks, and that the city's not receiving any fee for that, you know. And so with those larger permits, I think it's really appropriate to guarantee in writing, contractual writing, that fees are obtained or deposits are obtained or whatever else, to ensure that we're giving back to the parks that
Yes.
are being utilized.
And I very much think when the special use permits came to be, it was before we've had these really large events. And so we are looking at ones like in Portland, Vancouver, you know, that bring in like that and how they do it and mitigate that and make sure that we're on that same level, and then how we can do that for the future. And then, you know, of course, we'll do the first look, you know, put what we think, and then we will bring it to the Parks and Rec Commission, and then it will go to City Council for final approval. Did you have anything to add to that? with a special.
No, I just came
You're
back.
back.
Okay,
Well, I came back just to felt undone. Didn't give you a full, all meeting.
Yeah. Some of the other stuff that we're doing, and you all touched on it with, you know, the budget and capacity and things like that, is one of the reasons why I invited the Lions Club to come and talk, and hopefully we have some other groups that will too, because we have a really big disc golf presence. I don't know if you guys realize that really do the disc golf course. They're the ones who maintain it, put the things in, spend their own personal money, that sort of thing.
Golf hasn't been
Just so we
here
can all,
in years or more.
so we can all get grasp that you all are doing amazing work. There's some other people doing, and just what that looks like. And so we really try to leverage those partnerships. So yeah, maybe we don't have $40,000 we can pull for a playground, or it's probably more than that now. $80,000 that we can pull for a playground for Campbell Park. But how can we leverage our connections that we have? And Lauren, who is here today, had reached out to me about the dog park, and I'm really encouraging them to start a Friends of the Dog Park group. And so they can start like the Friends of the Dalton Lake, how they have their master plan for it, and have something like that for the dog park of the things they want to see, because we don't know what we don't know, right? And so it's nice to have that. And I did get a quote when we didn't ever have the fence in our budget. I was trying to get it in our budget, but it was like a $17,000 quote to fence in that area because of the capacity that area is and what that would look like. So they're going to work with me on what sort of fundraisers we can do and stuff like that. So really encourage those partnerships if you know of people, sponsorships, like that sort of thing, so we can really start tackling especially these little projects that we can do and get done, and then move on to the bigger ones as well. And with staff for maintenance, they've been tackling, I mean, they had a list like this of park benches, of drinking fountains, of all these different things to put in, and they have completed all of that for the summer. We had a goal to finish by August, and we got done, or maybe September. Anyways, they're all done. So we have no benches in our in our garage, which is amazing. And they've been tackling little things at a time to try to get those things done.
I just like to say,
Yeah.
Friends of Dalton Lake Nature Preserve is a Facebook page.
Yeah.
We do have an advisory committee that gets everything for that area.
Yeah.
We have to procure somehow the materials and get it built and this, that, so anyway.
Yeah. So, and I think that's great to have other groups like that as well, because I think when people are working on a specific project, it's exciting to see those things get done as well. And it's so amazing to have things that can help supplement things that maybe aren't in the budget.
Are there any, is there anywhere you can find where all these groups, which groups are helping in which park?
So that's a great question, and another thing that's on my list to really get an idea of what that looks like. I only know of, I mean, there's a lot that help with things. Aquinas does some mowing stuff. Yeah, so putting together a comprehensive list of all the partners we have.
Nice.
Yeah, and so that ties into, did you have something else about that, Lynn?
No, I was just saying there's only 4 of us on the advisory committee.
Yeah.
And so when we do have a work group, down there or something, we have some people that have come on Facebook and say that they would like to help, but not too many.
Right.
But what I do is reach out to people, and I've got actually a scout group that said they're interested, so, but it's changed, it changes all the time, every time we have.
Yeah.
So.
And it's great
but
to
we
have those.
4 of us that'll say, okay, we need to do this, this.
Yeah.
We just had a meeting the other day, and so.
Is that something too, like the list of people who, the volunteer programs and whatnot, is that something that we could eventually make visible or accessible to the public via the city's website? So say I'm a general person of the public and I want to get involved with my park, and I have no clue how to do it because I don't know what's going on here.
There's a huge area called Friends Groups. If you look on the website, and actually Nobbville's the only one listed as a true Friends group.
On the city side?
City's website.
Yeah, so we'll go over what that looks like, and I have a whole bunch more information then.
And another thing, when I put that on Parks and Recreation Facebook page, we had people coming from Clackamas. Everybody's.
Yeah. And so I think that's, so we do have a form that I asked for you guys to fill out for the work parties you have, just for we know I can send it to Crystal so she can get the information out. See if there's anything we can do to supply things. We can see if we can acquire them. I mean, sometimes asks are too much for what we have access to. And I'll make sure that that sends out to everyone too, so that we have, but those have been going well and there's a few coming up. So on volunteer stuff, Melissa and I have been really diving deep into what our volunteer programs, and we do have a lot of great foundation stuff, but we have a lot of work that I think that we could do in that that area, and ways that we can pull in citizens that maybe is just a 1-day project, a 1-hour project, that sort of thing. So we are developing a more extensive volunteer program where, as Dana said, they can go to a website and click on something and know, this is how I contact the people who do the disc golf stuff and how I can volunteer for that. Let's see, we have some ideas of 1-day volunteer ideas on here. But we also have we want to create a park and trail citizen adoption program. And it's term limited by park by season. So nobody is having to do like a year commitment on it. It's just like, hey, for the next 3 months, I want to be the one that goes into the Veterans Plaza and make sure it's really tidy in there and looks great. We would create a comprehensive list of responsibilities so the citizen knows what's expected of them during their term, and display a sign in the park so it boosts their current stewardship. And put a bio brag on social media, and possibly looking at if we, say they had like a birthday party or something going up, that they had a discount or something on the pavilion rental or some sort of tangible thing that was like, oh yeah, we did this. And that's just like as we go through that. So we'd have a scheduling calendar to keep track of the volunteer cycles and terms. We'd create a merchandise reward program that is designed by park by season, so that citizens can continue to volunteer in order to collect all the merch type things. So for instance, make a magnet with each park on it, and maybe springtime you get a McCormick Park magnet, and fall you get a Heine Human magnet, and that sort of thing, or a pennant or a bag or a coffee cup, so that there's some pride in the different parks, and then people might generate conversation like, hey, I see you have a Godfrey Park.
Those could be made in the makerspace.
Great idea. Great idea.
I started this on Citizens Day in the park, and I just wrote this up really quick for volunteers and people to sign up. So what I had was their name, and then the park that they were interested in, and then the contact information. And some people said Campbell. And then another person said Dalton, Nothill, McCormick, and then the rest said any.
Yeah.
So I think we should be doing that at every event.
I agree. And maybe even having the stuff at the event. So, hey, I have an hour right now. And that's one thing we're going to check in with some of our community partners on, getting some buckets, some grabbers, and so people can come pick them up and view. So maybe like somebody gets out of school early and they want something to do with their kids, they can go over to McCormick Park and do that. And then also, we have been really looking at things that are working well for other cities. And there's a program called Litter League, which won't get you a baseball stadium yet, but we're going to clean up these parks, and it will be kind of like a competitive thing, right? Like Dana's family signed up, Jacob, they're going to go out for Litter League to see who can get the most trash in that park, and then turn it in and get some sort of like prize for it and stuff.
How about this, you're talking about the magnets, for each park, incentivize it by, do 3 hours at this park with volunteer, you get a magnet.
Yeah.
And you can collect all.
Yes, that's exactly what we're thinking, is that we'd have certain tasks or certain seasons or something, so that, like, okay, Scott, you volunteered for the winter months to do this park, but then spring you're going to do this one, so you don't have that magnet yet. I mean, there's a lot of us who love that kind of stuff, including me, and and ways of getting our teens and youth involved, right? So we go to Campbell Park and we see them on top of the basketball hoop, instead of me yelling at them to get down because I know their mom. Instead of that, maybe saying, hey, I actually have a bucket and a grabber in here, this stuff, and you can get a Dutch Bros card or something along those lines to start bringing that thing. Exactly.
Clean it up.
I tell your mom, but no. So just, and we will be looking for more ideas as we do this. This is something similar to the special use permit, where we're going to come with like the house of the program, and then show it to you guys so you can tell us what rooms should live in that house and how we do that. So yeah, so that's some exciting stuff coming up with the parks things, because I have people all the time that are like, hey, I want to do something, and I'll have them go do something, but it'll be nice to have like a legitimate, like, hey, do you have an hour today? Click here, you can go here and do these things or whatever.
You can send them over to my house.
Yes. Her garage cleaned and it's fine. So recreation is just going like great. All of our after school programs are filled up. I'm fully staffed, which is so exciting. So you're gonna see a ton of programs like coming out. So it's gonna look like craziness here coming. And we're really hoping to get our pamphlets back as well, because I know people really like having that paper thing. Maybe not Howard. Are you the one that said you didn't like paper?
Oh, no, I love paper.
Oh, okay.
Paper maps and
You
stuff.
can circle, you know, you want to go to Santa, you want to do this, you want to do that. All of those positions, for the most part, except for the after school program, which they're funded through the after school program, are grant funded positions. So they all will be ending at some time, which I really hope we can find continuous funding or ask for more funding in the budget, because we'd really love to just get everything going on in the parks, because parks and recreation, they're hand in hand, right? Without recreation, we wouldn't need a baseball field. Without parks, we couldn't do some of the things that we do, walking groups, all of those things. And we have so many users that enjoy our parks. We had probably over 1,000 people in our McCormick Park this last weekend, because we had a softball tournament going on for adult softball. We had a disc golf tournament going on, and multiple birthday parties going on as well. And not one complaint. Garbage looked great, because we've been trying to put disclaimers in our rentals like, hey, please help pack it out, like help us keep our parks clean. And on Wednesday, we have the high school coming to do a big service project at the parks and cleaning up the trails with garbage and stuff. And yeah, so we're just really moving along, doing a lot of things, and y'all are welcome to come by the community center anytime and check out what we've got going on. And we'd love to have you at the booth for trunk or treat. But I think that's all that I have.
When did you want to invite the disc golf group?
I think it would be great, maybe the December meeting or January, but I'll give them a couple options. Do you have a preference of, do you want me to see December, January, February, and see which one that falls in
The
there?
only business we have is nominating a vice chair or a chair.
Okay, awesome, yeah. And then I have a few other groups I was gonna reach out to as well that do, yeah, because we have big groups that do things like Lynn, we have 4 people, we have just people, like I know Brandon and Lynn have been poking around in the Japanese garden, you know, so just things like that, yeah, so.
Yes, we've been doing that since what, August, Brandon? July?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was gonna mention to you too, Shauna. I think it's too late in the season now, but I wanted to request somebody that knows what they're doing. If they could go look around and maybe doing a little spraying for poison oak, because apparently I got into that pretty bad. And so I saw some and I thought I steered clear of it, but I apparently did not, because my legs and my arms were covered. So,
Oh, no, okay.
so it is in that area. So if you go there, beware.
Poison oak, the best time to spray it is in the fall.
It would be a spot spraying, Brandon,
Yeah.
because it's so thick in there yet. We're just getting to the point
Yeah.
where you can see the.
Well, and I'll let you know when we do spray so that you guys know that just happened.
Yeah, it'd be spot spraying
Yeah.
over the brush.
Yeah, but that way
There's
you,
so many plants in there
Yeah.
that haven't been uncovered yet.
yeah,
And that's why you do it in the fall,
Yeah.
poison oak, so that most of your good native plants are down for the summer.
yeah.
But then poison oak turns so early that it's more of an almost a August
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Is when the best time to spot poison oak is about August, because it all turns bright red.
Awesome. Well, does anybody have any questions for me about any of that?
Thank you for all your hard work.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you all too. I think we're all kind of learning this together, as you know, and learning different ways that we can do it. But my ultimate goal is to make every park beautiful and well attended and stuff, but we just got to start chipping away at the hot items right now, and then we'll get to the others. Yeah, no, it's all of it. Yep, for sure. Awesome.
We'd like to continue talking about the docks at the next meeting. There'd be more to talk about this, where there's an ad hoc committee that Capital's created as far as, you know, the regulatory pieces of kiosk enforcement, the services agreement. Dock is a new thing here that we're getting more information on, and this is going to be our wrap up end of season last meeting with the ad hoc committee, actually tomorrow.
Yeah, I would love to see some updates and.
Maybe we're gonna try to encourage somebody to join or to apply to join from the doc committee, just so we have, you know, that side of it as well, and see how that can fit into.
Done for now. All right, and then after tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not a standing committee, it's a limited purpose committee.
Yeah. No, but I mean somebody that has if they want to continue doing something.
Yeah, that's interesting.
let me know.
Yeah, I get you invited on it.
What time is it?
12 o'clock.
Thank you.
It's a Zoom meeting.
Okay. So I guess we're on to other business.
I'll try to make mine brief, but I got quite a few things just to run by. Thank you so much. We got our third bench into our nature park. We'll get a little gravel built at our November 5th work party. We have our semi-annual work party coming up on the 5th with a morning work session and an afternoon work session. You should gears here for a drop of the second, and that is that I really think we need to somehow find to get signage at Civic Pride Park to get that marked as a park. I walked through there on the way back from my new auto repair place, and there's nothing really there to let people know that there's a park there.
Brandon has brought that up because he is assigned to that park. Brandon, do you have any comments?
Yeah, that's one of my dreams, is to get Civic Pride, get a little Civic Pride back into Civic Pride Park, but it's going to be a big project, but I think a sign would be the first step. And then just this past summer, I was talking to a couple teachers that occasionally they said, we would love to take our classes over there and do fun things with them there, but they said there's just blackberry bushes and there's just nothing for the kids to do there. So I think it would be utilized. It's right next to the school. It's right next to the pool. It's a great location. But it's like, it just needs a little TLC. So I think it's another one of those projects, but I'd love to see it someday back in its prime.
We tried to give it away.
Give it over.
No. And I still have more on other things. We keep going here. Also, twice in the last 6 months, we had somebody in the park one day that let their dog off. Well, I'm the one to chase the deer out of the park. And then we recently had somebody who has a couple of dogs that keep escaping and running all over the city, that they almost ran a deer into me in Nob Hill, that there were 2 aggressive dogs running after the wildlife in the park. So I don't know, sometime to think about if we in the city of St. Helens newsletter, we can get a thing out there, like mentioning people like your dog should not be chasing our wildlife. You know, we sometimes we want to keep it in a park rather than having it in our yards. You know,
A sign that says that they should be leashed.
yeah. Oh yeah. This other one, his dogs just, I hear just constantly keep getting out. They've converted flies in the last couple of weeks, and so I'm in the park. And then on to my next one, and that is we do need some help in Nob Hill right now. Immediately, we have a very hazardous situation on the railroad tie staircase, and that is, I've always commented, with so much foot traffic. I was in there for a little while on Saturday with the clicker, and they were averaging 100 to 150 people per hour going through there, and the top 3 stairs, all the big rock that I always talk about that we have at the top for drainage, is totally covering the first 3 steps. It's like this thick on top of the railroad tie staircase. And that, to me, even before last weekend started, that should have been cleaned up by somebody, because that's a terrible tripping hazard for the city and somebody's liability to have that type of rock. Usually I do it once every, 3 months or so, and it's adequate. And I did it towards the end of September, right, the beginning of September. And within a couple of weeks of Halloween Town, there's just so much rock. And really, I'd love to see, that's my big rock that's for drainage, so I'd like to see it thrown just back up the trail farther, you know? And that leads me to, I mean, usually we try to provide a lot of the maintenance and gravel moving in the park. And I'm a little bit concerned that after this year, I'd like to be consulted before we get into our rainy season in that area, because I moved over 3 yards of rock to the top of the stairs to stop the erosion last year, and it's moving around pretty radically right now. And before we get into the rainy season, there'll probably need to be something to address that area of the heavy foot traffic that goes through there. I know people have ideas on it, but I have been looking at the drainage going down that for years, so I kind of know the way the water runs and what it does in there. So I like to be involved in whatever people sometimes think would be appropriate to try to control the water in that area. It's somebody needs to get in there before this weekend and move the rock back up. I just don't have time, and
Yeah,
I'm
no.
not getting paid to do it for happening.
Yes, with things like this, that you see you're a hazard, that you let us know as soon as you see the hazard. You can email me, call me, so we get it, yeah.
I didn't know this till very late on Friday of last week.
Oh, okay.
And like I said, in the past, I usually would take care of it, but since Halloween Town is so big and huge, I'm like, why should I be providing rebuilding of the trails during the middle of Halloween Town? Somebody else
Yeah,
should be
no, I definitely,
looking after the maintenance. of the
Let us
trails at that time. Okay. I guess that's all I have for now.
And I have 12 points. Sorry. But most of them, some of them I've been touched on before, and I can go pretty quick on some of these others. First off, let's go. Yep, I was wondering about an update on the Port of Columbia Boise Park. That Milton Creek area that we were talking about before.
Okay, update has been, I'm going to talk with DSL rep who's on the planning commission here and find out if I can get more information, because it's not like Dalton, where you had a cooperative management agreement that outlined what you could and couldn't do and who is responsible for what. So I've downloaded one of their presentations to get a good idea, but I need a little bit more detail about considering the wetlands and delineation where that industrial line is going to be. Because I received the maps of the different sections, but I need more clarification there, so I need to do.
There's also gonna ask about an update on the Japanese gardens. And see you guys. already
We
said that.
started there.
So I'm happy to help on that.
Oh, good.
So,
I would love to know when you guys are going out. I would love just a quick heads up.
Okay, great. I'm gonna put your names down, because what we've been doing is I'll call them up and say we have all of our tools and everything. But and I go beyond that. I mean, we've got the steel and all that stuff. But no, we're just trying to cut our way inside now. And it's mostly blackberries, and then of course, like
I got that big machine, so if you're in there, if I'm available, I would.
I've got a chainsaw and a hedge trimmer on a long pole. It's a steel. So when we get to that part,
battery operated,
pardon me, gas. Yeah. So, but anyway, we have been but sometimes we can coordinate together and sometimes we can't. So maybe I'll go run a Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
So now that I know you're interested, I'll call and just say, hey,
I have hand tools. I have my pickup truck. I can bring and help haul out debris, all that fun stuff.
the parks maintenance will pick it up. All I do is send them an email and say, okay, we were over here Sunday afternoon and we have 2 piles by blah, blah, blah.
Perfect.
So.
So on what I know about the port property. So that they call the Wilds, and that was, when their executive director, former executive director left. I'm not sure the status of that project, but at that time, they were looking to do a donation of that property to the city, but they needed to time the donation so that it would coincide with some match to another grant. And they weren't quite ready to get there yet, so it's kind of in the queue. It's not really on our priority list, but why wouldn't we take it? It's a beautiful piece of property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Well, that would be
that's
great.
all I know. I can check in with the current director and see where they're at with it and
That'd be
it's still a
wonderful.
project. And at the same time, when we do any kind of an update on the parks master plans, we need to put that in there because it'll help us.
Right, and I understand in the grand plan though is a walkway or a pedestrian way, trail to McCormick Park that would go underneath the bridge, from the, riverfront area. And I think that's a
That would be
wonderful
great.
idea. Yeah,
You could do that at
so,
either side and make it.
yes. Well, they planned, I think, didn't the port, and the city agreed to make a pedestrian bridge across the creek, so you could go to that side.
Well, from what I understand is that they're expanding Old Portland Road. And they're gonna be taking out both those pedestrian bridges and those could be used somewhere along the line.
That's on Old Portland Road.
Yeah, we looked at a grant application for that, but it ended up not being feasible. It was,
This was a pedestrian bridge down Milton. So if you're going west, that's what they were talking about in the plan.
well, and the trails plan shows trails on one or both sides of the creek the whole way down the property. So that's the thing. And then having another foot connection across there. And it's a little trickier when I get down more towards the lowlands because it's so flat. And it's nice to be in between two big rocks. So you got a shorter bridge and higher clearance.
Because my dream was see all that all go all the way down to that old railroad line and then it can connect all the way over to the waterfront. Although that could be a 15, 20 year away dream.
And
it would
also
have
the
to be
CC
that part.
I think that's all part of the, you're going from.
If we don't put the vision out there, then it'll.
And the
Has access.
parcelization plan for the industrial park has trails considered it, and access to the trails.
That'd be great. Thank you. Yeah, let me know if you want me to be there.
Okay,
So Scott.
Sorry.
Hey, anything?
I'm not even part of the.
Are you?
Stay there, stay there.
Right, I was supposed to leave 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. You don't have to stay.
You read about it in the minute.
Just wanted to touch base on what Steve Toski had to say to us. I think it's good, just as Councilor Morton had said, you know, if we vote on these things, they kind of get kicked upstairs. I think like with the overlook on the Columbia Road, if we just said, vote it right now saying, let's look at this, what next step, we can kick it up to them and continue on, kind of marking our territory for future vacation drives attempts, I guess.
Yes.
So I'm looking for a vote on doing that.
On kicking.
Well,
again?
Well, to say that we want to start the process.
The process for the voice,
For the overlook.
for the overlook.
On Columbia Boulevard, we were trying to get that.
The vacation.
Yeah, there's free
Oh.
vacation and all that.
I see.
I'm sorry.
I missed. Okay.
Maybe we should put that on the agenda as a
For
an
December.
actual agenda item. If you want to try to do a vote on that or something.
So I thought we agreed with the parks decision. That was the same thing, not to have that done. So you're talking about the work that wanted.
That was, the vacation was withdrawn. It would still
Okay,
be,
correct.
it'd
So-
still be put out there and
So
the
what,
whole process started again.
so there's work that's gonna be done on the overlook that was talked.
Just to start the process as part of the master plan from 1975, I believe,
Oh,
of the having an overlook. there.
I guess you know anything about that? Is there the Main Street program? Does all that include some of that area where they were trying to vacate and everybody was talking about a viewing platform?
An overlook.
Yeah, the vacation was withdrawn.
Yeah.
The gateway connector plan has an element of an overlook feature in it.
Okay,
So it already exists and it's adopted and
Okay.
At that location.
I don't know the width, if it's the full width of the right of way or if it's a narrower section or not,
Mhm.
but it's.
We're just trying to pick it up, so it's on the radar, so it doesn't,
Yeah.
Yeah. Already knows that, where we stand on it.
That's what we did with Boise property. We decided to go move forward with that, and I think that's a good idea. So. Oh, Jacob has to leave. Okay, so we have Paul and Brandon. Have you heard what Scott just said?
Yep.
Okay. Paul? So it's been suggested that we move forward on the Overlook project that was described in the master plan of 2015. And all those in favor, please raise your hand to move forward on that.
They'll make a motion.
And Brandon,
Oh, you have to make.
make a motion first, okay.
Yeah.
Want to make a motion?
We'll make a motion?
Yeah.
Any second?
Well, but you have to state what your motion
Right,
is.
so
Okay.
What you wanting us
I
to.
cover everything with this motion. Make a motion to bring this to the council or need to continue with making this area into an overlook.
And with continued discussion.
Continued
Okay.
discussion.
Is there-
Sound good enough?
It's easier move to say so moved. Than you to say so moved and
So moved, okay.
I'll second it.
Right. Great.
Yeah, it's just-
Yeah. So.
This is my first movement.
So is there any other discussion before we have our vote? Oh, hearing none. All those in favor, moving forward.
Aye.
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 Brandon, Paul says aye. All right. We all agree there. All right, thank you. The motion is passed.
Right, I'm gonna leave the other 7 off. For
Hey, next time, in December. So is there any other discussion? I have a few things I wanted to say before we leave.
Can I just say one more thing? Sorry. We had this applicant from Scappoose, from a senior from Scappoose. And well, obviously there's a conflict there with you being one. But I'd like to see something going ahead that, we get the 3 high school non-voting members of the commission. So they get their input on this. I mean, this could also help, like, if we had some high school kids here, like with the Campbell Park, if people doing instruction there, they like to talk,
If we can engage more high school
engage
kids.
people into it, yeah.
And
It's
if you
good for
have to
them.
be a non-voting member, I think we should invite her to come to our meetings.
Well, I'm just saying, not just for her
And listen
specifically.
to what we're discussing.
Yeah, we have 3 that they can, join in with the discussion and all that. I mean, I don't mind if they vote either, but it's just that, it'd be nice to get the youth involved, and it also helps them, with their future, if they're going to.
And she lives in
University or-
Scappoose.
This particular person did, but I'm just saying that, in general, from the high schools, Scappoose or St. Helens and that. It'd be nice to
It'd be
have.
nice to extend an invitation to other seniors, maybe at St. Helens High School as well, if we're gonna start doing that, because that way you're
Yeah.
gonna get a wide variety of comments or suggestions or from the next wave of commissioners.
Well, and I'm really excited to see, with Shauna's, the volunteer stuff that they're bringing forward too, because I think that would be a really fantastic way to engage the youth, the high schoolers. to have projects where they can come participate in a park of their choosing, you know, give feedback directly to the commissioners while we're there. And then we can bring their feedback, comments and whatnot. I mean, they're always welcome to come and be here for any of our meetings as a person of the public, but.
We used to have
bit.
kids come and for part of their class, they would sit on our stuff, or was that an end of COVID kind of stop?
So yes, so they don't do as much as that, but I will tell you, I had a conversation with Counselor Chilton, who just got back as well from the League of Oregon Cities conference. And she was really excited about bringing back youth council, which I think would have an appropriate space here. It's a little different than what we do for Youth Leaders Club, because we're more focused on the activity part and like doing the thing, where youth council is more about the policies and procedures and stuff. So I think that that would be a really appropriate place to talk about having a representative be on this commission as well and report back to there. So I think that there is some traction with that exact idea that you're talking about.
Okay.
I think it's a very great educational opportunity.
Yeah.
To work with them also, and they're so like little sponges,
Yeah.
you know, they just want to know what's going on in the city.
Well, and they let us know what they want, right? We think we know. And then they're like, no, that's so whatever. That's my kids. Mom, that was 10 years ago or whatever. So, yeah. So I will follow up with Counselor Chilton and follow up with you guys, letting you know when it's expected to bring back youth council.
Okay, well, there's only 6 left next time, so sorry about that. I know what's going on.
All right. Anybody else? Okay.
Just real quick, Lynn,
Yes.
I just wanted to thank Scott for his report on Heine Human. Just again, another one of my dreams would be to see a kiosk in that park letting people know who Heine Human was. I would imagine most
That was
people in
one
this.
of the things I was gonna say there, Brandon. I was gonna say you have a reduction of your outline, your historical outline here on a placard there.
I would say most people in the city under 40 have no idea what that name means or just think it's a weird name, but pretty influential guy in the community for many years. So I think we need to work on that one of these days. And then I walk by there every couple of days because I live in that neighborhood. But not too long ago, I was walking by there and there was somebody there using the dog park and just chatted with them for a minute. And they said, could the city have picked any more terrible place for a dog park? And I said, well, I don't know, but it does turn into a muddy mess in the late fall and winter. So that's just one thing to consider. Maybe someday in the future, there might be a more appropriate place rather than that steep slope right there. And then also just wanted to thank Shauna for all the email updates with various things. I just appreciate being informed and knowing what's going on. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything else?
I do have one more thing, sorry. So Emily had emailed me today letting me know what next steps were. They just got done with their native plant sale. We got the contract all updated with the appropriate names and stuff on there, so I'll send that out to you. But her plans for this week is to visit Godfrey and McCormick Park, draft and send volunteer information out to the volunteer database, reach out to the churches and businesses to alert them of the opportunity. Because there's some work parties coming up. One is on October 23rd or 22nd, and then one is on October 23rd over at Godfrey. And I'll get some more information out about these. I'm going to create like a little blurb about it. And then
Email that to some of those things, not up on other social media.
and check in with Chip. Is it Bubel? Let me say his last name. On pesticide training, on the pesticide training program, which we've been working with doing that as well. So those are the things that are going on this week with Emily, just an FYI. And then she has several work parties planned in October, November, December at Godfrey and McCormick, and I will send them out email.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Shauna,
Yes.
do you know if would Emily, under the work that she's doing currently, would she be able to look at that Japanese garden area, or is that not close enough to the water? Do you have any idea how that would work?
That's a great question, Brandon. I actually am gonna ask her about that and I'll follow up with you on what she says. I think that we could probably put it in that as well. But I just want to double check before I say for sure, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, we had a lot of people at the native plant sale on Saturday. They made a lot of good money and a lot of plants went out the door to be planted in the local community.
Okay, is there anything else before we?
I just would like to request now to be put on the agenda for the next meeting. I plan to have an update on where I'm at with the Campbell Park mural project. And I hope to, at that point, start to request to move on to the next parts beyond the basic planning. So
Great,
I'll put together some information for that one.
wonderful, okay.
Please and thank you.
Gonna be awesome. I'm excited. Okay, so all I'm gonna say at the end is please track your time. Go back in time, go to your calendar or some of the minutes and add that up and please send it to Shauna and CC me. Because when I start writing grants for the parks, I'm gonna be able to use that time. And you can use your,
Whatever you mean.
pardon me?
When we do voluntary in the park and stuff.
Yeah,
Okay, oh yeah, no, we keep. track.
and also this meeting is here
Really?
Yeah, this is.
as well. It's in kind. And so,
Punch it up as much as you can.
And our walk,
and I know that you keep really good track.
Yeah, we do.
So,
our park tours and stuff, does that count as well?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that'll be a big help. And also,
It's of the meetings for each month. Come up with some of that.
that's pretty easy. It's right on the minutes.
Yeah.
So anyway, also, I'm gonna keep pressing this to please read your municipal codes. There's 8 of them. So it's not just a paragraph, there's 8 of them. And so you understand the depth that they go to. It's real important. So we understand exactly what we're responsible for. So that's it. So if there is nothing else for the here, we'll start the meeting. Thank you. Thanks,
All right,
Paul.
everybody.
Brandon.
Have a good evening.
See you guys in December, huh?
That's 6 months.
Say that.